Money was never the danger. Fragility was. And once money stops feeling like the thing that can ruin you, movement stops feeling reckless. It starts feeling necessary. From here on, we stop talking about fear. And start talking about direction. Once you realize that waiting is not neutral, something uncomfortable happens. You lose the excuse of innocence. You can no longer tell yourself, I'm just being careful. I'm not there yet. I'll decide when it's clearer. Because clarity was never the missing ingredient. Permission was. Waiting survives on the belief that one day you'll feel ready. Deciding begins when you accept that readiness is something you create after you move, not before. This is where most people freeze. Not because they don't know what to do, but because deciding forces a reorganization of identity. When you decide, you stop being someone who is considering. You become someone responsible for direction. And responsibility, real responsibility, is heavier than anxiety. Anxiety hurts, but it doesn't demand action. Responsibility does. That's why so many capable adults choose the pain they recognize over the uncertainty they don't. They choose familiar tension over unfamiliar alignment. They keep waiting because waiting lets them stay who they are. Deciding threatens that. Deciding means you might disappoint someone. Deciding means you might have to let go of an old version of yourself. Deciding means the story you've been telling no longer fits. So the mind negotiates. It says, just a little more time. Just one more paycheck. Just until things calm down. But time doesn't calm things down. It only reveals what you've been postponing. This is how leverage disappears quietly. Leverage isn't lost when things go wrong. It's lost when you delay while things are still technically fine. Because leverage lives in options. And options shrink the longer you don't choose. The irony is brutal. People wait because they want more safety. But waiting is exactly what removes it. By the time pressure finally forces a decision, the decision space is smaller, the margin is thinner, and the cost of error is higher. That's not bad luck. That's math. This is the moment most people mislabel as a crisis. They say, everything suddenly got hard. It didn't. It got honest. The illusion of safety wore off. The default ran out of slack. The system stopped cushioning delay. And when that happens, your body reacts first. Not because it's weak. Because it's accurate. Your body feels the loss of leverage before your mind can explain it. The tightness. The urgency. The sense that something needs to change now. That isn't panic. It's the signal that waiting no longer works. This is the real transition point. Not from anxiety to calm, but from avoidance to orientation. Orientation doesn't mean you suddenly know the perfect move. It means you stop pretending that not moving is harmless. You begin to see direction again. Not as certainty. As alignment. You stop asking, what if I choose wrong? And you start asking, what if not choosing is already choosing against myself? That question changes posture. It doesn't rush you. It grounds you. And once you're grounded, something important happens. You stop trying to eliminate discomfort. You start trying to place it. Because discomfort without direction feels like suffering. Discomfort with direction feels like effort. And effort builds leverage. This is where the real work begins. Not tactical work. Internal work. The work of rebuilding a relationship with money that isn't based on fear, avoidance, or delay. Because until money stops feeling like a threat, every decision will feel heavier than it needs to be. And until you understand why money feels threatening in the first place, you'll keep confusing caution with safety. That's the final layer we need to expose. Not what to do. Not where to invest. Not how to optimize. But the mental framework that turns money into something your nervous system braces against. That framework is what quietly keeps adults stuck in waiting mode. And once you see it clearly, waiting stops feeling safer than deciding. It starts feeling expensive. That's where we go next. Money doesn't feel threatening because it's complicated. It feels threatening because of what it represents. To your nervous system, money is not a tool. It's a signal. A signal of safety. Of options. Of survival. When money feels unstable, your body doesn't interpret that as a math problem. It interprets it as exposure. That's why logic fails here. You can understand budgets. You can understand investing. You can understand long-term planning. And still feel a tight chest when a number appears. Because the fear isn't about understanding. It's about what money has been assigned to mean. For most adults, money has quietly become the stand-in for certainty. Certainty that bills will be paid. Certainty that you won't embarrass yourself. Certainty that you won't let people down. Certainty that nothing unexpected will collapse your life. That's a lot of weight to put on a number. So every fluctuation feels personal. Every expense feels like a threat. Every decision feels loaded. Not because the decision is wrong, but because it feels like it could destabilize everything at once. This is the mistake. Money is being asked to do a job it was never meant to do. It's being asked to provide emotional safety. And when a tool is misused like that, your system never relaxes. Because tools fail. Markets move. Income changes. And when your sense of safety is tied to something volatile, your body stays on alert. This is why avoidance feels tempting. If money is a threat, then not looking feels like protection. If decisions feel dangerous, then waiting feels safer. But all avoidance does is reinforce the association. Money appears. Your body braces. You delay. The relief hits. The pattern locks in. Your nervous system learns, money equals danger, avoidance equals safety. That's not intelligence. That's conditioning. And conditioning doesn't respond to arguments. It responds to new experiences. Here's the reframe that breaks the model. Money is not safety. Money is margin. Margin is what gives you room to breathe. Room to choose. Room to absorb impact without panic. Safety doesn't come from the number itself. It comes from what the number allows you to do. Options. Flexibility. Time. Choice. When you confuse money with safety, you try to protect the number. When you understand money as margin, you start building capacity. Capacity to decide. Capacity to move. Capacity to recover. That shift changes everything. Because now the goal isn't, don't lose. The goal is, don't get trapped. Trapped with no options. Trapped with no buffer. Trapped needing everything to go right. That's the real threat your body has been reacting to. Not loss. Fragility. This is why two people with the same income can feel completely different. One feels calm. The other feels constantly on edge. It's not the money. It's the structure around it. One has margin. The other has obligations stacked on obligations. One can absorb a hit. The other can't. Your nervous system knows the difference immediately. That's why clarity doesn't come from earning more alone. It comes from changing the relationship. From, money must protect me, to, money gives me room to act. Once that happens, numbers stop feeling like verdicts. They start feeling like information. Information you can use. Information you can respond to. Information that doesn't define your worth or your future. This is the moment orientation becomes possible. Because now decisions are no longer about survival. They're about allocation. Where to put attention. Where to put energy. Where to put money to create more margin. And when money stops being a threat, waiting loses its grip. Because you're no longer protecting yourself from fear. You're building toward resilience. That's the real shift. Not confidence. Not calm. Capacity. And capacity is what allows you to move without needing certainty first. This is why everything we've talked about leads here. Because until money stops feeling like the thing that can ruin you, you'll keep circling. And once it doesn't, movement stops feeling reckless. It starts feeling necessary. That's the foundation. And from here, we can finally talk about action without triggering avoidance. That's where we go next.